Say some things about the shitty world we're living in. Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News. Oh yeah. Good evening, welcome to Tuesday's Raconteurs News after a bank holiday weekend. I hope you had a great day. It's the 28th of May 2019, and I was speaking to Annie before, and her throat's gone a bit, and mine seems to be going as well. So let's hope that we make it through these 2 hours. So what's been going on? I've had quite a response to the show that I did, impromptu show I did Thursday night, and thanks to that, thanks to everybody. Everyone's got an opinion, and as they say, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, and Lee Garrett wants to shove his cock in them. Oh, sorry, that's arseholes, not opinions. But anyway, there we go. Welcome to Raconteurs News tonight. Sorry for that little bit of a mumbled start at the beginning. I'm having some problems. I'm having some problems getting the music going through. I'm trying to sort it out, so just please bear with us. And as usual, you are with us on Raconteurs News. I'm Jason Holmes, and the other part of the team, for the time being, at the moment anyway, is Annie Logical. Good evening, Annie. You're going to have to unmute your mic because I muted it. So Annie, good evening to you. How are you? I'll keep talking until I see. Oh, there we go.
Hi, Jason. I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, mate, thanks. Yeah. So hopefully, I'm gonna, my throat's gonna be all right through this couple of hours because it's just got a bit weird. But yeah. So it's nice to be back. I'm interested to hear what Shane's got to say and stuff. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, good. Well, we've got a good guest on tonight. I don't know if we're doing Tuesday and Wednesday or we're just going to do Tuesday. I think that's going to be probably up to Annie at some point, and myself, and see if we can get a guest on tomorrow night. But we've definitely got a guest for tonight, and he's somebody that we've had on Raconteurs News before, and he's got a little group of targeted individuals, and he claims to be a targeted individual himself. You've probably seen some of his videos on YouTube. He does plenty. I saw a couple that he did yesterday. He did two yesterday. So I think that was yesterday that he did two. But good evening to you, Shane Gibbs. How you doing, male friend? You need to unmute your mic, mate. There we go.
Yes, I'm muted, mate. But I can't see you. Apparently, I've got an error loading the app again.
Oh, well, never mind about that. We can see you and we can hear you. Well, we could see you, but we can't see you now.
What about now?
Can't see you now. Could see you before. There we go. We can see you now. Everyone can see you now.
Woo. We'll get there, mate. We'll get there.
Good evening, mate.
Yeah, it's all good, mate. It's all good. Yeah. Not bad, mate. Not bad. Just took some migraine pills. I had a bit of a thick head coming. I thought I better medicate myself up a little bit so I can get through the show. Yeah, things ain't too bad, mate.
We're dropping like flies at the moment, aren't we?
No shit, like I said earlier.
Annie's got, said that she just got her throat started, narrowing before the show, and it seems my voice has gone a bit, but I think I've got away lightly with this one. So Shane, listen, for a start, just give us a brief introduction, an introduction of yourself, how you came to be in this position. I know you've been on Raconteurs News before, and you have gone through this before, but we've got a lot of new listeners since that time. So there's many people that may not be aware of you or aware of what's been going on around you. So give us a brief outline to start us off with, please.
Basically, it all comes down to upsetting a Freemason, mate. A little bit of advice for anybody else is don't go around upsetting Freemasons, because you might end up in the same situation as myself and many other people in this country, that's for sure. It all started back in 1995 in a nightclub. I had a drunken son of a Freemason tried to put a bottle over my head. I defended myself. He came off second best. They took me to court, went to Crown Court, got acquitted at Crown. The evidence showed that I was telling the truth. And from that point on was where, well, the shit hit the fan, really. House break-ins, vandalism, cars getting covered in paint stripper, etc., etc., etc. You know, just it's pretty standard stuff, really, when it comes down to the targeting. Massive collusion with the local constabulary. So yeah, basically that's where it all started, and it's stemmed and continued over the past 20 odd years to actually increase somewhat. Obviously, with the way that technology's changed over the years, hence the targeting has changed somewhat as well with it. So yeah, it's a big problem that a lot of people maybe have heard of or are unaware of, but I can pretty much guarantee that if at some stage in the very near future they're going to come across somebody that's been affected by this, because it's just getting out of hand. It's you know, there's so many victims coming forward, but just here in the UK alone, you know, we're talking, this is like going on all over the world. It's absolutely mental. Over in America, they've got massive organisations, and they're really organised over there. They're having rallies and weekend conferences and doing all sorts of stuff. Over here, it's still being denied. It's still being buttoned down. Nobody's willing to talk about it. Mainstream media not even mentioned it, not even in a positive or a negative way. Hence the reason why we've got, well, hopefully we've got the biggest targeted individual protest coming up outside the BBC on the 29th of August, which should hopefully open a few people's eyes and start getting them to be curious as to what's going on. So that's where it lies at the moment, mate. You know, I'm spreading myself rather thin, because most of the organisation for the event is all being done by myself. You know, I'm getting a little bit of help from a couple of other people. But due to my profile and the way that I've been in the public realm, if you like, for the past couple of years through YouTube, it's obviously put me in a bit of a position, if you like, where it comes down to everybody sort of seems to look at me or look to me to, I don't know, get things done and arrange things and all that sort of stuff. But I don't mind, you know, it's part of the parcel of what I'm doing. But effectively, I started my YouTube career, if you like, after the Vice documentary that didn't turn out as planned or as they told us it was going to turn out. Basically, they re-edited about 3 days worth of filming from me personally, and just chose a few little snippets that left a question mark hanging.
Tell us more about this Vice documentary. I've heard of this channel Vice. I've watched a couple of things on there, some really interesting things on Vice, including one I watched a few months ago on the Japanese suicide forest. So I know they go on these, they do these documentaries. Tell us about what the one that you were involved with was about, and what.
Well, I got invited to be part of the whole Meet the Targeted Individual community, which is, I think, is what they titled the documentary. And it was myself and several other UK based targeted individuals that have got their own stories, their own independent stories. I had film crews around me. They actually came to the house. There was about 3 days full filming. They took all the information, every piece of information that I've given out over YouTube, but chose to use a very small amount of that footage to basically leave everybody sitting on the fence as to, is this bloke fucking mental or is he telling the truth? So I think we're up to about 4 million views on that documentary at the moment. So obviously there's a lot of people around the world that have seen my mug on the documentary, and a lot of people have found me on YouTube independently through the documentary. So yeah, I don't look at it as a bad thing, because basically what it done is it put the topic in front of millions of people, Whether they decided to believe it or whether they decided to not, it's up, you know, it's irrelevant. Basically, it was about, I mean, my job now that I look at doing is it's all about exposure. It's about trying to expose what's going on, not with myself, but about the bigger picture. Like I mentioned, you know, this seems to be a global problem, or predominantly within the Five Eye countries, which is where the majority of the victims are based. So yeah, that's a basic rundown of the documentary. It had its pluses and its minuses, but like I say, any exposure, positive or negative, is a good thing for the targeted community, because it's been so kept buttoned down and under wraps, specifically here in the UK. So yeah, it's all about getting the face out there, getting it as many people and as much exposure to what's going on as we can possibly do.
So you would, it's not something, if it was something that you were to, you'd do it again, would you say?
What with Vice?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. But there's no way they'll touch me now with a barge pole, mate.
Okay. So tell you what, Giz.
What happened with the documentary? It was supposed to be released on a certain date. Vice put a pre advertisement for the documentary to come out. I think that was on the Monday, and it was supposed to come out the following Wednesday. But then it was held back. Apparently, I forgot all the emails from the film crew. They told me that they have had to pull the original edit, and it's because of legal reasons. And I think the legal reasons were because of all the footage and the information I gave them about the Freemasons and the trouble that I've encountered from Kent County Constabulary. They ripped all of that out of the documentary, re-edited it. 7 weeks later, it came out with a completely different picture as to what we was initially told was going to happen. So it was taken out of our hands, really. But yeah, I would definitely welcome the opportunity of getting back in front of them guys and just seeing whether they're willing to actually tell the truth this time rather than fucking mislead everyone, which is what they did last time.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you're dealing with the media, especially the mainstream normal media.
Well, I was naive, mate. You know, I mean, I've never, you know, I'm a fucking chef, restaurant manager by trade. You know what I mean? I'm no media specialist. I didn't understand, you know, what you should be saying and what you shouldn't be saying to mainstream media. You know, they come and told me that they was going to do A, B, and C, which is what I expected from them, but they completely done the opposite. And well, yeah, I felt a little bit stitched up, to be honest with you, once it came out. But it is what it is. It's been out for coming up 2 years now. It's had millions of views, and it's got a lot of people talking about the concept and raised a lot of curiosity as to what it's all about. So you know, if you look at it from that respect, then it was a job well done. So
is that documentary available on YouTube, and what's it called?
It's called Meet the Targeted Individual Community. I think that's what it's called, the title of it. There's two. They done one over in the UK, and then they done one over in the US. So so there's two of them. But the one over in in America, they chose this fellow who seems to be fixated on reptilian shapeshifters, which obviously didn't do the whole community any good whatsoever, because it just made the whole fucking thing look like a complete fucking farce. But like you say, you don't know what you're getting involved with until it's too fucking late, I suppose.
Yeah, having had experience with the mainstream media myself, I completely understand. I know how they'll promise you the world, they'll tell you this, they'll tell you that, they'll tell you the other, and then it's just once they've got what they want.
Once they get to sign that little waiver form saying that they're free to use whatever you give them, you're pretty much fucked, aren't you? There's not really a lot you can do about it. So yeah, it is what it is. It played a purpose. And it's got, like I say, it's got, you know, I've got quite a few subs now on YouTube. I've got a lot of regular followers. A lot of victims come through to me from all over the world, purely from seeing the Vice documentary, because it just everything. I mean, the thing is with this targeting program, it's the same for everyone. It's the same structure. You know, it all pans out the same way for whoever in whatever country. You know, that's the bonus for us, I suppose, because you've got sort of like tens of thousands of people around the world all claiming exactly the same thing. Now, they would like to put that down to some form of global delusion. Now, if that don't sound pathetically stupid to anybody listening to that, then I mean, you need to go and check yourself. You know, how the fuck can hundreds of thousands of people all be having the same delusion? These people, I mean, we don't know each other. We're all just being targeted by the same targeting program. I mean, this stuff's been around for decades. I mean, it all started with the brown shirts prior to World War II. You know, it's called the Z-Zone over in Germany. I mean, this, and then you move on to the COINTELPRO from the 60s and 70s from America, and it's just been refined and perfected and refined. And obviously, with the increase in the improvement of technology, it's made it a lot easier for them to fuck people up, definitely. But that's what I'm all about. I'm all about exposing. I'm all about being an activist for the community, and I do what I can do to try and help as many people and try to get as much exposure out there as I possibly can.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's interesting how you say, because this is similar to, we had Ben Emlyn-Jones on last week, and Ben Emlyn-Jones is into the UFO community.
I know Ben. Yeah, I know Ben. You know, Ben's actually been on some of the filming. So yeah, Ben and I know each other. Right.
Okay, but it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? That many people that are not connected have had a similar experience, have reported similar experiences, as in the UFO community. You know, do you think that that's do you think they're using the same form of dismissal that they use on the UFO community as do you think they're using that on you as well,
basically the way that they cover this up, especially here in the UK, is complete denial of the existence of targeting. Anybody that goes and reports targeting to anybody official will have a label put on them of some kind of fake misdiagnosis of a mental health problem, probably medicated and left dribbling in a room for the rest of their fucking lives. You know, this is how, and it's not just targeted survivors that have to deal with that. You know, most whistleblowers go through the same process. Most abuse survivors and abuse victims go through the same process. They use the same fucking process for lots and lots of people that are trying to tell the truth. They literally will cover it over with, oh, they're mental, oh, they're crazy, oh, they're delusional, and they don't. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's so blatantly transparent to people from my side. It's just, but it's just wearing so thin now. You know, it's just, well, it makes no sense as to why it's carrying on and growing the way it's growing. You know, like I say, there's so many people coming forward now, young people. I mean, I'm noticing a massive influx in the younger generation of people that are being targeted. I'm talking sort of like late teens to mid 20s. Right. It's getting stupid.
Annie, you were going to say something. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Shane just said he doesn't quite understand why it's growing, but I think the reason why it's actually growing, well, to me, it's quite obvious, because if the whole agenda is to target the whole population at some point down the line, that's why I got involved in the whole 5G campaigning and stuff, because they intend to target the whole population, and obviously to do that, they're going to have to, test it out on random people, so that
we're the lab rats. Yeah, we're the lab rats, 100%. See, what I'm seeing now as well is I'm seeing a lot of these so-called truthers out in virtual reality land, and all of a sudden now all of this 5G stuff's coming out, and all of this information about mind-invasive technology and all that sort of stuff that is going to be affecting the whole population of every country, I'm assuming. But we've got all of these fucking truthers that are now like saying, oh yeah, they can do this and they can. I mean, they're talking about shit that we've been trying to expose for years. You know, we've been trying to warn people and warn the public that this is a reality. This stuff's been going on for a long time. But I think you're right. We've been the experimental stage of a bigger program that I'm assuming is going to get rolled out across the globe, and there's not going to be a lot that anybody can do for it once that button gets pushed, well, which is coming. I know it's coming.
Well, the thing is, I'd rather not say it's coming. I'd rather say people need to start getting on board and doing something about it, because obviously the more people who know what's going on and the dangers involved, the more people are going to be willing to step up. It's like 5G, you know. People are, like last week, and are just starting to understand about 5G or whatever. I don't think it matters about when or what. What matters is that people get on board and do something about it. And I think when people realise that they've now got the resources, and that all they want to do now is roll out the whole infrastructure. That's what the whole small cell technology is all about. That's why they want these towers everywhere, because that constitutes a microwave radiation weapon on every street and every road. So that is the whole idea. So obviously, targeted.
We have been trying to warn the public about microwave energy and directed energy weaponry and dangerous frequencies for years, and nobody has been willing to listen. It's all been, oh yeah, well, let's mock the targeted community, let's laugh at these people because they don't know what they're fucking talking about, and now it's coming to everyone. So you can't say that we haven't tried warning people. You know, it's down to other people to actually realise the realities of what's going on around them in their own fucking communities. But it's getting to the stage now where it's looking like it may be possibly too late. And all we can say is, look, we told you, we tried to tell you, we tried to warn you, and all you wanted to do was mock and laugh and ridicule. Now, I don't know whether you saw, there was something floating around Facebook today about 8 children from one school that have all come down with different forms of cancers due to the 5G mast or the telecoms mast that was up on the school. I mean, this is going to be the norm for all of you people, for everyone. I mean, all of your children are going to be affected. Every one of your brains is going to be getting scanned and zapped and fucking damaged, the same as what many targeted individuals have been dealing with for many years. And on that note, we've got an obituary list that as long as your arm for people that have fallen due to the targeting. Because the old concept about the targeting is they will push and push and push psychologically, and their ultimate goal is to get the victim to kill themselves. They want the person to commit suicide, which then leaves nobody accountable. And so, oh, he was crazy. She had a breakdown, and that's why they killed themselves. No, it's because they've been getting fucking tortured and tormented with technology for so long, they just couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I've got about 15 people on my friends list on Facebook that are now dead.
Yeah, I can understand.
It ain't no joke. This is not funny. There's nothing to ridicule and mock about people dying.
Yeah. Obviously.
I mean, and that's what it's all going to come to. All of you normal people out there, it's all going to come to you. Seriously, do you know what I mean? It's on its way. It's definitely on its way.
I think the thing is about the towers that had all the children got cancer from. They weren't 5G towers. They were just your average towers. Okay,
that was just telecom.
Okay, like
it was a telecom tower. Yeah,
they're everywhere. They've been everywhere.
Well, no, it's a telecom tower. The reason I mentioned 5G is because I saw Jason's mate stick a post up on there saying it was about 5G towers, but it was incorrect. You're right. It was telecoms, but yeah, Danny Groves. Is it Danny Groves, your friend, Jay?
You know who Danny Groves is, don't you, Jason? Lee Garrett.
Yeah, I know Groves is.
Of course I do.
He's following me around, and I think he's after my arse. I don't know.
How's your other buddy, Flo, the fucking dickhead destroyer, doing? How's he coping with things at the moment?
I spoke to him the day after we had him on, but since then I've not. I think I saw one post from him today. but I don't think it were anything to do with to do with. I think it was to do with John Wedger and stuff again. But apart,
well, he's part of that little group of morons that are floating around, trolling and trying to belittle and psychologically damage people. You know what I mean? I was quite surprised to see him on your show the other week, to be honest with you, mate.
well,
Because
to be honest,
he's not.
We give everybody a go. And when Flow Destroyer came to me and he said, I want to talk about John Wedger, I said, okay, then I will give a platform. Just in much the same way that we do with everybody. If anyone's, if we were fair about it, we did. Perhaps I didn't know enough about the situation, but I allowed them to be able to speak. And as far as I was concerned, it went, yes, I can understand why you were surprised. I can understand why you were conflicted when coming onto this show, because I'd had him, those people, the people that you would class as your enemies on. But, you know, I do.
Well, it's not, to be honest with you, all of this online stupid trolling stuff is child's play to a TI. It's absolutely, I find it entertaining. I mean, but what I was a little bit disappointed as is it was on your show under an alias. I mean, the man's not even fucking brave enough to put his face out there and his real name, the same as all of them. I mean, they're all aliases and they're all sort of like hiding behind their little thumbnails and all that sort of stuff. They're a bunch of moronic cowards who don't prove any trouble or problem for me whatsoever. It's quite entertaining and it's pathetic and childish what they're doing to people. I mean, they're doing this to people that have got blatant mental health illnesses, and they will continue to push and bully and torment as much as they possibly can. To what end? I mean, what are they trying to achieve? It makes no sense.
My point is that if I'm to keep this show honest, which is what I want to do with it, is I want to keep it honest. I have to also, when somebody from the other side, the same with Annie. Someone came on here with that. Lee Garrett came on here and started making all sorts of accusations against Annie, and so I said, you know, if Annie's got a right to reply if she's listening, or if there's anybody can get in touch with her, let her know, and she can come on. And that's the same thing. It was after we'd had John Wedger on, Flow Destroyer got in touch with me, and I said, yeah, you can come on. I'll have you on the show. It's not a problem. I just don't. I want to try and keep this show honest. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, it's not. We're not.
I completely understand. Definitely where you're coming from, but maybe it should have been the real person showing his real face as an alias. This is AKA Flow Destroyer. I mean, not. Well, at the end of the day, it's your show. You do what you like. But I mean, that guy and his little bunch of cronies are causing a lot of harm and a lot of problems for a lot of people. It's just the way I see it, mate.
Well, mate, listen. Sorry, go on, Annie.
I was just going to say, there's always going to be, you know, this sort of thing going on social media. We just have to realise what's going on and get over it and move on, really. And what I was going to say is that, well, I mean, I can understand that targeted individuals are, you know, pissed off, saying we've been talking about this for ages and people haven't been listening to us. But, you know, don't get into the thing where you're saying, well, you all deserve what you get, because you've got to realise that people have been getting brainwashed for years and years through things like televisions and stuff like that. And people are aware that these technologies using electromagnetic fields and radio frequencies can harm our health in loads of ways, but they might not be aware of the potential to target the thought patterns and the emotions of not just individuals, but whole neighborhoods of people. So they've been using these
whole communities. Whole communities, even. I mean, you can go back to the Iraq War in the early 90s. You know, when they used the voice of God weapon on all of those Iraqi troops. I mean, I don't know whether you're familiar with that story, that battle. But I mean, this stuff's been around. It's been around and been used on human beings for a long, long time.
Oh, I know that. And the thing is, I've documented patterns on my own website with brain entrainment and all the things that they can, you know, use, what they've got patterns for. I've documented it all on my website for people to see.
There's patterns for all of the technology. I mean, there's lists and pages of stuff. You know, I mean, all of this stuff's been patented for Oh, look up. It looks like I've got a troll trying to phone me. I knew he'd phone. Yeah, one of these dickheads has managed to get my mobile number from somewhere, and he's been plaguing me with mobile phone and calls, and he can't text me no more because I blocked him on his text messages. But yeah, he's trying to call now.
What you were saying,
that's why I put it on site.
What you were saying about contacting when the mainstream media get hold of you, or when they know about you, you know, that's when you know that the shit's gonna hit the fan. It's like just after I created a YouTube video questioning the official story about Grenfell, and my channel was featured on ITV News calling me an internet troll. The next day, I had a UPS van parked outside my house for 3 days, and I had the same recurring nightmare for 3 nights. And it didn't matter if I woke up and went back to sleep, I still had the same nightmare. It was really a really scary nightmare. It actually scared me into wondering whether I was doing the right thing in, you know, sharing research.
Do you know what that's called, Annie? It's called dream manipulation. Yeah. It means that they have tuned in. They've tuned into you, and they possibly may have been doing stuff in your brain that you weren't aware of.
Oh, I know that's what it is. And now after the 3 days, the van left. So did the nightmares. But obviously, you don't get a UPS van sat outside for 3 days. The delivery vans, you know, they deliver. They don't stay in one position for 3 days. So I knew I was being targeted at that point. Can
you imagine dealing with that for decades, Anne?
Well, this is what I'm saying. My heart really goes out to people who've suffered this for so long. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable with the onslaught that people have had to face for so long, and I can understand. Yeah, sorry.
After so many years, you kind of get conditioned to it, and you learn to dismiss it. You learn how to deal with it. You learn how to control it. You learn how to literally live alongside. I mean, you have to live alongside your target. There is no other choice.
Can you?
I mean, you either fall foul of it.
Yeah. Can you sort of explain to people who are listening about the sort of things that occur to people who are targeted?
Well, I mean, we'd need a full week on here to do that. You know, it's a collaboration of things. You know, it's a multi-pronged attack, if you like, ranging from like the early days of the targeting. Generally, it revolves around lots of harassment in your local community, getting your own broken into, getting your food poisoned, your dogs poisoned and beaten, and just bad service from it. It's like you almost get blacklisted, and it's like you become a leper overnight in your local community. It's really strange. And then it moves on and progresses on to whatever they feel like doing to you. And not every targeted person has to deal with the mind invasive stuff and the electronic harassment and all that. You know, there's people in this country that are getting burned, 2nd-degree burns from something that's being shot at them in their homes, and no one's doing anything about it. You go to the doctors and they'll say that you've got some kind of mental health problem, and yet you're going there for burns. I mean, work that one out. I mean, they are so adamant on keeping this secret and away from the public eye. It's crazy. It's, you know, it's absolutely mind blowing how they're managing to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, well, there appears to be 2 methods of delivery with the system. One's the direct microwave induction into the brain, and the other one's the radio frequencies. And I had a friend today actually contact me on Facebook, and she's a targeted individual as well. And she's been telling me that just lately she's been experiencing both radio frequency and microwaves. And she said it's quite the silent takeout. I mean, they've got there's areas across the UK now where they're testing these 5G technologies, and electrosensitive people are suffering immensely. There's the EE.
Well, that's another story all on itself. Yeah, I mean, you've got a massive community of these electrosensitive people that it's actually now a recognised illness in a lot of countries, apart from this one, apart from England.
Yeah. Well,
but there are millions of people that belong to associations for electrosensitivity. There are also millions of people that are linked up to what they call the voice hearing community. Now, so now, so you tell me, you work it out from that. I mean, I think there is a lot more people that are being targeted that don't realise they're being targeted, and they're putting it down to other things.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. How many people don't even realise that they're being targeted? I know that the EE Telecommunications is scheduled to launch the first phase of its 5G deployment this Thursday in 6 cities in the UK: Belfast, Birmingham, Cardiff, Edinburgh, London and Manchester. So, look out people in them areas, because, we know there's thousands of studies showing the dangers. They're all being ignored. So this technology claiming to be for better phone connectivity or speed, which is a load of bullshit. They know they've got people hooked into the mobile phone technology. That's the bait to get the infrastructure in place. And what I did want to say was, I read something yesterday, and it was basically, there's a guy called Professor William Webb, and he's the ex-director of Ofcom, and he's written a book stating that 5G in all its capabilities is a myth, that it's not possible to achieve, okay? And scientists for wired technology have reported that 5G is an overhyped bait and switch tactic by the wireless industry, purely to deploy the small cell phone towers everywhere. So obviously that's the whole plan behind this whole 5G thing, is to get all them weapons everywhere on everybody's streets.
Well, it's a saturation, isn't it? It's a saturation of whole areas and communities, the 5G stuff. But what when you was talking about earlier on, you mentioned RF frequencies and microwave frequencies. It goes a lot deeper than that. You're talking about ULF and ELF and all of these other nefarious frequencies and signals that are being used and have been used by military for many, many years, that are obviously under some kind of top secret, I don't know, whatever, so nobody can find out what they are. I don't think the 5G is as bad as what people are going to be are expecting. It can be used in a nefarious fashion, but I don't think it's as drastic as some of the stuff and some of the signals and frequency attacks that a lot of targeted individuals have been dealing with for many years. But it's obviously a concern, because it's a military grade system. It's been around for a long time, actually, 5G technology. Or the millimeter wave technology utilizing the system.
Yeah, it has. But when you talk about ELF, that's just different levels of the same electromagnetic spectrum. Whether they're low levels or high levels.
They're all microwaves in some form, but you get the ELFs, and then you can move on to scalar waves and all of these other. There's so much out there. To be honest with you, I don't even bother even trying to work it out, because it's pointless. There's just so much of it to try and get your head around. The best thing to do is just don't pay any attention and just try and get on with your life as best you can.
Oh, well, that's what most people do, you see, but I don't do that. I like to know exactly what it is and what's going on. And, I could do a show on what the whole electromagnetic spectrum is, where it starts from and everything, because some people do want to know, but obviously a lot of people don't want to know, because it's all a bit boring to them. So I could fully understand that.
But what I don't understand is, human beings are electrical beings. Without electricity, we don't work. Without electromagnetic frequencies, we don't even function. We're like just bags of fucking flesh. Do you know what I mean? But so why is, if you go and go to your GP and you start talking about electromagnetic frequencies and all that sort of stuff that they should be knowledgeable about, they'll think they ain't got a clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And yet the human body has and relies on EMFs and electromagnetic frequencies and electricity to actually function.
Yeah.
But no doctors and no medical profession has got any knowledge of it. Not in this country, they haven't. Not down in the on the national health level. It's so blatantly obvious what they've. That they're not allowing the information and the education to be given to the people that need it, because of what the reasons why they're doing it. It's just crazy. It's so great. So when you're targeted, you can see through all of this sort of stuff, and you start putting the dots together, and you're just like, I mean, I feel sorry for humanity because I mean, I know what's coming.
Well, you know, when you said 5G is not that dangerous, I've got to disagree with you there, because 5G represents a major quantum leap in the type of signals that's going to be pumped through our bodies constantly, 24/7. You know, it's been proposed to increase signal strength from its current 3.6 gigahertz to, you know, anything in the hundreds, and even what they're talking about, 26 gigahertz, is way more than is going to be helpful to our bodies. And also, these are the same these are the same frequencies and stuff that that they've used in the past. Say, like, for, I mean, there's one from called synthetic telepathy, where they've got supercomputers that can analyze human emotions and brain patterns and replicate them. And there's several loads of patterns on the website for this. One's called silent subliminal presentation systems. Goes right back to
we call it V2K, Annie. It's called V2K in our community, or the voice of God weapon. You can call it synthetic telepathy. You can call it what you like. You know, this is the sort of stuff. This is the sort of torment that has been utilised against people for decades. I mean, V2 subliminal voice of God technology was in. I mean, they first stumbled across it after the Second World War, when some engineer walked past a radar dish and realised that he was getting all these funny noises in his head from the microwaves that was being emitted through the radar dish.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this information's out there. It's called the Frey effect. I think the guy's name was Frey something, or his surname was Frey. I mean, this stuff's been around for a long time, but it's not been put into the public realm so people can educate themselves and understand what it is, because they knew that it was going to be utilised in nefarious fashion later on down the line.
Well,
sick.
Supposedly in 1943, this is Tesla technology, and in 1943, Tesla, all his belongings were seized, and they were analysed by a professor who was related to Trump. I think it was Donald Trump's uncle. Donald Trump was reported to have revealed that his uncle had told him that destructive forces of weapons would be so massive that it would be a scary world. And of course, you know, the Tesla papers went into the hands of the Rothschilds.
Well, you must have seen the speech that JFK gave the week before he died, or the week before he was murdered, when he said that there was an element in society that was very evil, and he was going to be looking to try and take it down, and blah 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 blah. I mean, he's talking about the cabal that is like literally running the fucking world at the moment.
Of course.
I mean, that's why he was shot through the head, because he had realised and come across the nefarious stuff that was going on underneath his eye, if you like. And once he found out, he wanted to talk about it, and that's why he ended up getting taken out, because they can't have people talking about it, whether you're a president or whether you're a member of the public. You know what I mean? It's just this has been set up and it's been arranged for a long time. I mean, this is not the sort of thing that they've just come up with overnight. You know, this plan has been put into action over many years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. Now, what I did want to mention was the fact that I did some research. Now, there was David Petraeus, who's the ex-director of the CIA. He was also the commander in charge of all the military operations, you know, in Iraq and Syria and everything. Yeah, his name David Petraeus. Now, he was at a meeting of a company called In-Q-Tel. Now, In-Q-Tel is actually the venture capital firm for the CIA. And so In-Q-Tel has funded loads of the companies that produce all the software and the hardware for 5G. And this is what he said. I'm going to read it. Hang on, I've got it on my website. Hang on, he said, In-Q-Tel will enable a global network of intelligence, and that items of interest will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled through technology such as radio frequency identification, sensors, and embedded servers that will provide persistent monitoring of anyone, anywhere they choose, And then he bragged about how In-Q-Tel also allows collection of analysis of social media feeds, and he thanked them for being diabolically clever and helping keep the American intelligence community at the forefront of the global innovation. Now, the CIA and the UK link is unbelievable, because the same man, this David Petraeus, who spoke about the ability to monitor and remotely control anyone, anywhere, yeah, this ex-director of the CIA, he also became the vice president of the oldest think tank in the world, and that's in the UK, called the Royal United Services Institute, and that's the body that dictates.
Yeah, all of the technical stuff that's being utilised against the targeted community in the UK is coming from a place called Menworth Hill, up here just outside Harrogate in North Yorkshire.
Right.
I mean, if you want to look up someone, look up a fellow called Ted Gunderson. Ted Gunderson was trying to warn the population about the targeting, and he was targeted so much it took his life. I mean, but he was trying to warn, and he was like ex-head of the FBI or something in America back in this like 70s and 80s. Well, but he succumbed. I mean, I think he ended up getting like riddled with cancer, which is what this technology can do to you.
Well, I've been doing research for a long time. I haven't just come on because of 5G. Let me just tell you that.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, I know about Ted Gunderson. I know about the whole chemtrails, all the different aspects that's been going on. I've been doing research now for 15 years. I've been putting YouTube videos on for 15 years. So I haven't just come on the scene because of 5G. What has happened is I've realised...
I've got friends that are ex-NSA and ex-FBI. I've just been chatting to a good friend of mine, an ex-Hollywood actor called Steven Schellenberger, who's also had his life destroyed through the targeting, through the Hollywood way. Yeah, I mean, this is like a guy that was like doing films like what was he in? Gone in 60 Seconds, and he was like acting next to like Nicolas Cage and Robert Redford and all that sort of stuff. He upset the wrong person, they destroyed him, and now he's a TI. Do you know what I mean? Trying to make a living on building sites and selling art. I mean, they've got. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're a president or whether you're a Hollywood actor or whether you're just a member of the public. I mean, if they put you on, if you get on that list, you're on the list, and it don't matter. I mean, you're on it. Simple as that.
No, I fully.
There's a dark side to this world that so many people have got no idea about, and that's what that's what I'm trying to remedy, is by trying to expose it, not only trying to help encourage the targeted community that the targeting, the same as the country, is led by fear. It's all fear and control. So I mean, what I'm hoping to do, especially with things like this this protest that's coming up outside the BBC in August, is to try and get people to realise that unless they do something, unless they stand up, unless they start making themselves known, nothing's going to change for them. Nobody's going to be any wiser. I mean, they could wipe every TI out and nobody would have a fucking clue. I mean, it's beyond crazy.
Well,
and they like to call up. They love using reverse psychology. I mean, that's what. I mean, and that's when they sort of like start saying that we're crazy. Who's the fucking crazy ones? I mean, who invented this technology? Who's using it against members of the public? I mean, who's using this against single mothers and their children in their homes? You've got to be off your rocker to be doing something like that to someone.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I was.
It's just.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, I was puffing on my puffer.
Oh.
Listen, I just want to tell everyone, you're listening to Raconteurs News. It's myself, Jason Holmes, and Annie Logical, and we've got as our guest Shane Gibbs tonight. We're going to get into some of that psychological stuff in the second hour, I think, Shane. You were talking about triggering yesterday, and which I was watching this afternoon when my missus decided she was going for a snooze. I thought, I'm going to watch the videos that you put up yesterday. I watched the second one, and then someone distracted me. But I went through the second one, and that was all about triggering. And I made a few notes actually on that down here. So I want to get into that in the second hour. But we've still got plenty of time left between now and then. We've been talking 5G.
We've been talking. You just hit the nail right on it. I mean,
go on.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the reason that I do these videos, I mean, about that topic, triggering. I mean, I try and pick up and try and talk about and try and give information on all aspects of what goes on within a targeted person, what goes on in their life. Do you know what I mean? The triggering, the home invasions, the poisonings, the corruption that we are faced with. I mean, that's why I do the videos, and the amount of videos that are on my channel is because I need to cover all of these different topics and all of these different aspects, so people can go, do you know what? That's fucking going on with me, and I know, and that happened to me, and that's what goes on with me when I do that. It's all about trying to get the information out, trying to build the knowledge, not only within the population, but also within the targeted community. Because there's so many people that are just, I mean, the confusion that a person encounters when this first invades their life is just, I mean, you don't know whether you're fucking coming or going. It's mind blowing. So if I can help alleviate some of that by putting the information out in my videos, then I'm going to do it, regardless of what anybody says.
What I was getting from your triggering videos, your triggering video was I was seeing ways that they were triggered. You saying that things were getting triggered, but if you put that into society, as if you put those values and then look at society, then everybody is targeted, because all we're getting is we're being triggered. It's all just how much emotion is around at the moment. Everything's emotional, you know. It's we've got all these emotional things that go on, and then it's exacerbated on Facebook. Recently, last Friday, we had not round here, on the other side of the city, thankfully, but we had the incident where the children, the two children were killed. It seems the mother and somebody else was charged with their murder, and so we've got an incident where 6 kids. I mean, we've got into a place where the system and everything, and the society, and through social media and everything, is getting into everybody's head. So you could actually say that everybody is a targeted individual.
Oh yeah, everybody is targeted to some degree. I mean, you're completely and utterly correct there. But what you've got to understand, getting back to what Annie was talking about earlier on about the synthetic telepathy and all that sort of stuff. I mean, people just don't seem to be able to put the dots together. I mean, we've got like mass murderers in this country that are going around. How many? If you do the research, oh, the voices told me to do it. The voices directed me to do it. The voices showed me how to do it. So are these people schizophrenic, or are they being targeted with technology that is causing them to become fucking mass murderers? You tell me. Look at the mass shootings in America. I mean kids that are going in there with assault rifles to obliterate as many people as they can because the voice in their head told them to do it. Now, can you not? I mean, it don't take a lot to start working out and putting the connections together.
I think I'll have to just mention something here now, because I've done a lot of studying the false flags, okay? And all this, people have gone into these schools, and all this stuff it's been pulled apart. It's basically they're false flags, okay? It's all manipulated.
It's to create fear. It's to create fear, which then comes to control. That's all it is.
Yeah, but
they're utilising and using technology to create these false flags.
Yeah, but this is the whole point. You're talking about a false flag where they claim that someone's gone in and done this, that, and the other, and shot people, when we've proved that it never actually happened. There was nothing but a load of crisis actors involved, and it didn't work.
I'm not disputing it, Annie, but you cannot dismiss the fact that there has been a lot of horrific mass murders in America by people that are claiming to have voices in their head telling them to do stuff.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you there. I mean, there is, you know, incidences of that. What I'm saying to you is when there's a mass media event where everybody's, you know, look what this person's done and all that, in the schools, or like Sandy Hook, for instance, and things like this, where the whole thing was perpetrated and created by the very people who had the agenda. So yes, you are right.
All that's about, it's about getting the guns out of the Americans' hands. It's about revoking the Second Amendment so they can't protect themselves. I mean, that's what all that's about.
Yeah.
But if I mean, we had one not so long ago down here in Kent. Well, there's been 2 or 3 down here in Kent. People that, you know, a young lad, I think he was about 28, had the voices in his head telling him that his neighbours are going to, if he don't kill his neighbours before they get him, then, you know, I mean, it's that. You know what I mean? So he got told to go next door and slaughter his next door neighbours. We had another young girl, beautiful little young woman, was getting stalked to fuck by this bloke in Chatham. He then followed her into a gym and in broad daylight slaughtered her like a lump of meat in the car park because the voices told him to do it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying these people they could possibly be, who knows, they could be ill, they could be mentally disturbed people, but it's just there's too much of it. I mean, you could understand if it was here, and I mean, it's all over the place.
And that's the worrying thing, because they'll have the technology to be able to influence the thoughts and the emotions of whole neighborhoods and communities and people. They could turn people against each other. They could make people become violent towards each other. They could make people think that they didn't need to eat. The technologies that they've got now, they could create so much for the population that, like I said, that's why Tesla's papers and Trump's said, you know, the technology is so frightening that you've got no idea what they could have in store for us. That's why it's so important that everybody gets on board and fights it, and, you know, make sure that you don't have your smart meters, because smart meters do make a difference. They need the smart meters to roll out the smart specialization program. The smart specialization program is going to be needed to bring about this whole weapons system, which means that they're going to have all these towers at 200-300 meters everywhere, you know, 500,000 of them supposedly across the whole of, not just the UK, but loads of countries. So we need to start putting together and making sure that this doesn't get rolled out, so that the whole population.
I totally agree. Do you know what I mean? But the targeted community have been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and now all of a sudden, all of this other stuff's coming out, and it's other people, normal members of the public, and all these other people are realizing that what the fuck's going on.
But never.
But you're right, Annie, and unless people start standing up and start becoming some kind of unified front against this tyranny that we're all facing, where is it going to lead? Where is it going to end? Where is it going to lead?
Exactly. So that's why it's that people need to come together now. And like I say, it's better late than never. I'm concerned that people who are aware of what's going on are buying into this whole 5G thing. It's just about upgrades for your mobile phone so you can get better connectivity and all that sort of stuff. They're sort of buying into it all, when really they're not seeing the whole agenda behind it, which is this whole, you know, depopulation agenda, transhuman agenda. Everything plays into it. We need to really start making people understand what we're actually facing.
What you need to look at is what is going to be coming to most westernized countries around the world is what China has been used for and has been the test bed for. You know, you've got some of the stuff that's going on over in China at the moment. I mean, you wouldn't want to live there. You wouldn't want to live in that country because of you can't fart without somebody watching you or seeing you. I mean, you've got social credit,
aren't there?
You've got social systems that can put you and blacklist you and prevent your kids going to schools and you leaving the country. And do you know what I mean? That's what's coming. I mean, this is what's coming.
Well, let's take a break. We're at an hour, so let's take a break. It's Raconteurs News.
I was just getting on the roll there, mate.
Oh, well, don't listen. You've got plenty of time to get into a role. You've got plenty of time to get onto a role in the second hour. Listen, everyone, you're listening to Raconteurs News with Jason Holmes and Arnie Logical. We've got our guest tonight is Shane Gibbs. We're talking targeted individuals. We're talking targeted society, really. I mean, Annie's brought quite a lot to this with the 5G as well. So Annie and Shane have been conversing throughout a lot of that hour and sort of connecting dots between them, I think, as well. So listen, we're going to take a break. We're going to have a quick record. I'm going to play one record, and then then we'll be back in the second hour. So if you just mute as your mic, will you please, Shane?
Yeah, no worries, Tom, mate.
Excellent, mate. Thanks very much. Right, we'll be back right after this record.
Not enough Robin Hood. Too many Halos, not enough heroes. Coming up with the goods. So you thought you'd like to change the world. Decided to stage a jumbo sale. For the poor, for the poor. So you thought you'd like to change the world. Decided to stage a jumbo sale. For the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know. Try shaking your box in front of the queen. Cause the first is find out first in the seat. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Not enough hands on heart. Too many ready to call it a day before the day starts. Thought you'd like to see them heal. Got to be at the stage and appeal. For the poor, for the poor. So you thought you'd like to see them heal. Got to be at the stage and appeal. For the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know. Try shaking your box in front of the queen. Cause the first is find out first. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try shaking your box in front of the queen. Cause a purse is fine and bursting at the seams. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean.
There you go. That's Heath West here on Raconteurs News with Flag Day. It's a cover version of an old House Martins hit. Well, not even a hit. It was just on an album, I think, but it's a great record, and you can find it other places. And also, somebody was asking me about Wake Up as well, Wake Up Stand Up. So if anyone wants a copy of that or anything like that, you can find it on YouTube, or just send me an email if you can find my email address. I don't generally gear out, but it's jasonholmes98 at Raconteurs. jasonholmes98 at AOL.com. So if you want to email me, I do check my emails every few days. I'm not one of them people that's constantly online, because I find that it really, really fucks with my head when I'm constantly online and I'm seeing things and I'm trying to analyze things from different places. So and then of course you get all the infighting and all that, which we're all trying to combat and to be able to and we're trying to spread the love as well. And during the first hour, would you believe, I employed 4 people. That's 4 people in the chat room who I have made moderators, because for some reason we lost our moderator. We've got Dot, who's in there. Ron Malcolm, he's a moderator, made him a moderator. Blah blah blah. Super Leads and New Being, who is from Sweden, or somewhere in Scandinavia, somewhere really nice. And we had a question in chat room as well from somebody just asking what was that next to Danielle's head, and it's my music center. As you can see, it's got a record player on top and everything. So there you go. That's it. We've just moved it. We've simply moved it. All right. Well, let's get back to tonight's subject. Shane, where do you want to take us from here, mate? Which, because you said you've only just got started, so I'm assuming you've got loads and loads of stuff to say. So where do you want to go from?
It's not so much loads to say. I've just got, I'm just enjoying the conversation. It's nice to actually have somebody like, I'm not no diss to you, Jay, but Annie's obviously done a lot of research and looked into the whole electronic technical aspect as far as she possibly could, by the sounds of it.
Disrespect taken, but
which is quite refreshing to actually have somebody that's not targeted, or not targeted to the degree that some are, that has got and is bothered to actually look into the whole topic and understand exactly what it's all about. So I'll take me out off to you, Annie. It's a pleasure talking to you.
And Annie, what would you before? Listen, I had a joke earlier on, and you two were talking, and I just couldn't get it in. So anyway, when you were talking about Mendwith Hill, is it Mendwith Hill outside?
Mendwith Hill, yeah, Mendwith Hill military base.
I used to drive past there quite often. I used to drive past there quite often, and but you can't see the chat, because you need to get another one. It's on the actual broadcast itself. So I've got the broadcast running at the same time. So it's about 10 seconds behind. It's on mute and I can see the chat in the chat room. That's why you can't see the chat, Shane. But the Mendwith Hill, I used to drive past there quite often. And I once broke down there and made the mistake when ringing the RAC to tell them to come and pick me up by the balls. And that was it. That first. If you put, I'll probably edit that and put it somewhere in the first half, but I couldn't get in there. Annie, how are you? Are you back from your break? Are you here? Can you unmute your microphone for us? Well, it seems like Annie's not back at the moment, Shane. So where were I going to go? We were going on.
Well, I'm sure there must be a few questions and a few bits of information that you might be curious about, Jay.
There are tons. What I wanted to do, I want to have a look in the in chat room. But what I wanted to ask you is, give me some. This has been going on with you for quite a long time. So can you give us some examples of incidents? I mean, some people might say to you, "Oh, look, you're paranoid. It's just some bad luck you've had, or these are all coincidences." You know what I'm saying?
That's the way they want you to think. That's the way it's designed to be. But when you come home and somebody has beaten your dog so badly that his eyes like dislodged out of his fucking skull, and your stereo and your laptop's been taken apart and the bits and pieces are laying all over your desk where they took it fucking apart. Now, yeah, you call it paranoia if you like, or you could call it some dirty fuckers coming in my house and they're fucking around with my stuff and beating my dog, who's now dead. So, do you know what I mean? You tell me. I mean, how can you pass that off as paranoia? I wish I was paranoid.
You know, but
really
some people,
would.
listen, some people would say that this European election, that's the results that have just come in this weekend, some people are actually stood there still and saying that it was it was a mandate for, it wasn't a mandate for Brexit. Brexit didn't win. The Brexit party didn't win, even though we got the most votes, the most. There are still those people, aren't there, that will.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Most people still even have got belief in fucking in politics, and it's all a facade. It's all fake. It's an illusion. I mean, it doesn't matter what fucking horse wins. I mean, you get the same result, the same bullshit, the same lies, and the same fucking crap, and the same detrimental treatment of the lower classes. It doesn't matter who's in. I mean, our government are being, as most westernized governments are governed by a higher entity, being group of people. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I mean, everybody's got all, who are you voting for, Labour or this or that? It's all fucking bullshit. It's all fake.
Absolutely, completely agree with you, and I know Annie would completely agree with you. Well, I think it's a movie that's been put out in front of us. It's a soap opera. It's a
facade to keep the sheep all quiet, so they can crack on and do what they want to whoever they want, whenever they want. I mean, look at this. Look at the state of this country. Forget the targeting. I mean, look at the amount of paedophilia. Look at the amount of homelessness and the amount of poverty. We just had some UN inspector come over last year, and he's generated a report, and he's made documentaries about it, going around the poorest fucking communities in the country. He's put the report into the government, and the government are saying, "Who are you? You ain't got a clue what you're talking about." Well, no, the fella's been around the fucking country. He's been speaking to the people. All the government, they're all silver spoon fucking morons anyway. I mean, they haven't got a clue what it's like living down in this level of society.
No,
it's all just fake fucking bullshit, and people need to realise to it.
Sorry, Annie's mute symbol's gone off, so I think she might be back. Are you back, Annie?
I am, yeah, but I seem to have problems with me whatever connection. But no, yeah, I'm still here anyways. I missed what you said, so I'm sorry about that.
We're just saying the government and the politics in this country is an absolute facade and a complete waste of fucking time, because it's irrelevant in my opinion. I mean, these people are irrelevant. I mean, look at the House of Lords. I mean, you've got a bunch of fucking moronic, privileged fucking people that are making legislation and laws that they want the masses to abide by. I mean, it's just an absolute joke. So, people that follow politics, I mean, fair play to you. I've got better things to be doing in my time.
Yeah, I do agree with you. It's a shame. I think that's the whole that's the system that catches people, isn't it? Because people actually still believe that we have a political system that's democratic, and you vote for one side and all that, when like you say, it's the same shit with a different wrapper.
When you've got 95% of the population, and just take the UK for instance, and you've got 95% of the population that sit in front of their TV and buy national newspapers, and if they don't read it in that or see it on their television screens, it ain't real. It's not real. It doesn't happen. I mean, that's the level of control that they have got the people under. I mean, you've got the people that are doing this shit. They own the media. I mean, look at the stuff that's going. It's just absolutely mind blowing how people are so brainwashed and numb to the fact that these people don't care about you. They don't care about your children. They don't care about whether you've got food in your cupboard to feed your children. I mean, it's all a fucking crock of shit. It's just it boggles my mind to actually think that people still have belief in the old school values that maybe at one point in time they was legitimate, but they certainly are not now.
I would question whether there was any point in time when they were. I've got to be honest with you. I mean, I've read this the book where the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Have you read it?
No.
Right. Well, that's basically a blueprint. That was like published in 1890, something like that. And that's basically a blueprint of what they set out to do, where, you know, for them to basically take over the whole world with the whole one world government and all the rest of it. And obviously, there's been a sort of discrepancy amongst people about who actually wrote them. Some are saying it was the Jesuits who wrote it. Some are saying it's Zionists who wrote it. But regardless, whoever wrote it, what they wrote back in the 1800s has actually come to fruition, all of it. And you know, it's astounding to read this book because it absolutely talks about everything from the whole monetary system to the political system, and what they intend to do and how they intend to create this global fucking new world order at the end. And you know, you cannot deny that everything that they talk about has actually come to fruition. And they're even now at this point in time, everything that's going on now with the astroturfing, fake grassroots organisations that are popping up, and you know, gatekeepers and the whole political system, where it's, like you said, it's just basically it's a puppet show, you know. And
it's like the wizard. It's like the Wizard of Oz scenario. Do you know what I mean? It's that like little creepy. It's like these fucking trolls, little creepy fat bald-headed fuckers sitting behind a curtain trying to make out that they're something that they're not, to try and put people in fear so they can control them. It's just for me. I mean, I see through all of this shit, especially because of what I've experienced and been confronted with over the years. I mean, I don't suffer fools that gladly, to be honest with you, and it actually annoys me when people are not willing to be open-minded enough to step out of their Coronation Street and outside their fucking newspaper for a minute to actually realise and look in to what the realities of their existence are. I mean, we're born into, if you want to go that far, I mean, we're born into a slave system.
yeah.
And that's this. I mean, you've only got to just look at the facts. I mean, you're born and bred to be a cash cow for these animals.
Yeah.
And then when your value go, I mean, look how they treat elderly people now.
Mm.
Look how they treat the pensioners. I mean, I read a thing the other day. I mean, there's the highest percentage of over 70-year-old people working still now in this country since records began.
Yeah.
I mean, you're indoctrinated through the education, the bullshit education that you're given. You then put it into a profession so you can earn money and you're given the illusion, because you can go on a little holiday and buy a car every now and then, that you're doing well and you're a free person. Bullshit. I mean, you're there.
Can I just pick you up on something you mentioned earlier on, Shane, please?
Yeah, feel free, mate.
Sorry?
Feel free, mate, yeah.
Yeah. It was something you said. You've just made the statement that, you know, it irritates you that there are people that are not open-minded enough to open the sun. To chuck the sun away and look for something else and look for something different. But yet earlier on, when we were talking about Flow Destroyer, when I was open-minded enough to get somebody on who had an opposing view, and I got criticised for that, I would have thought that on that show that we were the most open-minded that anybody could be, because we'd had people from both sides on, and yet
I think the criticism came because he was allowed to come on your show still hiding behind his little logo. That's where
nobody brought that up to me before. Nobody brought that up to me beforehand. If someone had brought that up to me beforehand, I would have said, right, okay, because my listeners all want to know who you are. If you're making these claims, then I would have said that to him.
Well, surely wouldn't you think that was like a reasonable request for anybody that comes on?
Yeah, but nobody requested it. That's the thing. It didn't enter into my mind. All I'm doing is I'm organising an interview. and people call themselves what they want to call themselves.
Because if you'd have insisted on that, then he wouldn't have been on your show. But there's no way that he would have allowed his real person, his real face to be shown, and his real name to be shown, purely because of the devastation that idiot has caused, and is still causing, around the internet or online and through YouTube, with his little bunch of chocolate sprinkles and all of these other little bunch of cronies, and this other dickhead that he's phoned me 15 times since I've been on here. I've got 15 missed calls.
Listen, you know what? For me, I got him on right, and like I've just explained to you, if somebody had said to me, as long as will you make him go by his real name, or will you have a camera on him, or something like that? If anybody had suggested that to me, I would have put it to him. If they'd have said no, I'd have gone back. And then if there were enough, people saying, well, we want to see who this guy is, but I didn't get any of that, and I didn't even cross my mind. Right, so it didn't even cross my mind that's what we should do.
I wasn't having so much a dig at you, Jay, because I've got respect for you, mate. Because I mean, there's not very, very many people. I mean, I've obviously been on the Richie Allen show and the Vice thing and all that, but there's not really that many down to earth people like yourself that are even willing to actually talk about and encroach on this subject, because they're all too fucking scared or too.
Well, can I just say here, like I was just talking about the protocols of the Elders of Zion, I know it's going off what you were talking about, but what you got to bear in mind, this was written in the 1800s, and this is something I've just put up on my website that the book states. It says political freedom is an idea but not a fact, and that abuse of power will put the final touch in preparing all institutions for their overthrow, and everything will fly skyward under the blows of the maddened mob. Our goal is only a few steps off. There still remains a small space to cross, and the whole long path we have trodden is ready to close its cycle of the symbolic snake by which we symbolize our people. When this ring closes, all the states of Europe will be locked in its coil in a powerful vice. So we can see how everything that they've talked about has come to fruition, and now we're in the final throes of that. There's talk about when we at last definitely come into our kingdom by the aid of a coup d'etat, prepared everywhere for one and the same day. Yes, and after definitely acknowledging, not a little time will pass before that comes. Well, talking about a whole century, we shall make it our task to see that against us such things as plots shall no longer exist. So because when they've got everybody linked up to the hive mind system, you ain't going to be able to do shit. Well, this is what I'm talking about, the whole idea of everything that we're talking about, the targeted individuals, we're talking about the technology, all the technologies that they've got together, for the purpose of this, okay? Yeah. It's all been part of their plan. Like you said, this has gone on for a long time ago. This is something that they've had, the methods of conquest, if you like.
Well, they've got it written in stone. They're called the Georgia Guidestones. Do you know what I mean? Bring them up on your screen and you will see exactly what they have got planned for humanity. You know what I mean? And it's not pretty. It's really not pretty.
I know what I've studied the Georgia Guidestones, and I know what they say. But obviously, the Georgia Guidestones were created, some years ago. This book was written over 100 years ago.
Well, if you want to go down that road, Anne, then if you look at the way that the Bible, I'm not religious, but if you look at the way the story in the Bible goes, now, if you are following it closely and you are religious, you would say that we are in what they call the end days, the last days. Well, if you ask me, do you know what I mean? Humanity as we once knew it is a thing of the past already. It really is.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, the Bible and all the everything to do with the whole Bible is also part of, something that's been subjected to lots of changes and written by certain people over the years.
It's the crudest form of mind control out there.
Of course, what people then have to accept, oh no, we're in the end time, this is all meant to be, it was written, God said it so, and all that bullshit, okay? But really what it is, it's a plan that's been put in place.
Yeah, definitely. It's a playbook. It's a playbook that's been played out. Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, another part of this, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, published in 1897, I've got it up on the website now, is before us is a plan which is laid down strategically the line from which we cannot deviate without ruining the risk of seeing the labour of many centuries being brought to nothing. And in Protocol 111, it states, methods of conquest, we shall throw upon the streets whole mobs of workers simultaneously in all of the countries. Now, is that not what they're trying to do now?
That's what they are doing, isn't it?
That's the whole reason why I do not. I mean, I know for a fact that Extinction Rebellion are common purpose based.
Yeah, they've got connected. I mean, anybody that's connected to the George Soros bunch of cronies, they ain't good people, are they?
No, well, I mean, I talked about that in the show last week about Extinction Rebellion. There's a great article on my website by Tasha Crett, which basically breaks it all down. How they've been co-opted, you know, it's the whole problem, reaction, solution thing going on, you know, again.
It's all part of the playbook. It's all part of the illusion that they have to give the general population to actually make them believe that they have got a choice. You have got a choice. You can say no. You can protest. You can say speak out on things that you don't agree with. I mean, that's what all this extinction. You know, how many people do you know that would be allowed to put fucking yachts up in the middle of London, in the middle of the street, and then lay down and super glue themselves to fucking buildings and that? I mean, if that ain't so blatantly obvious that they are part of the problem, then I really don't know.
Well, I'm just going to get something up right now. Just give me a second.
Everything's done. I mean, there's a reason why they'll do everything. There's a reason why they allow these supposed oppositional type groups and associations to actually even exist, to keep up the charade of the illusion that they are playing out.
I just want to read a bit of what Tasha wrote, because I think it's really, really important that people take this on board. She said, I strongly urge all who value their health, privacy, liberty, security, and the very survival of humanity as we know it, along with the protection of all animals, trees, and all organic life on our planet, to reject 5G, the Internet of Things, the smart grid, smart cities, as are being pushed through the Sustainable Development Goals of the Agenda 2030 and the Green New Deal. And I strongly implore all the critical thinkers reading this to do your own due diligence by not believing blindly what the ER or Extinction Rebellion and the fake green NGO industrial complex, the cabal-controlled governments, the IPCC, and the mainstream media propaganda is telling you without doing any research from independent, unbiased sources. And please ask yourself, why doesn't Extinction Rebellion talk about the beyond urgent need to halt the omnicidal 5G and smart grid rollout, a total surveillance, carcinogenic, physical and mental health destroying mass irradiation prison? And why do they have such strong links with those who are pushing this beyond nefarious global smart agenda? I think that basically says it all.
What people don't actually realise when they start talking about the Internet of Things, what they don't actually realise is top of the connection tree are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it all falls, and that's where it's all going to lay down on. I mean, people don't really. I mean, they talk. Oh yeah, my toaster can speak to my fucking tumble dryer. No, the Internet of Things part of the Internet of Things is going to be your brain.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, completely up to you. But that's what's coming.
Well, here's the thing, you know, Internet of Things. I mean, what they're basically saying is that we are the things. Okay?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's it. You got it.
We're the things. So, you know, what they're trying to say is the internet should be all-encompassing, everything. Well, we already know that, you know, everything you do, everything you say, everything's got to be, you know, documented, data centers collecting all the information. So what they're trying to do is to bring in this this AI, this artificial intelligence that can, you know, once we've got all this information about what we're all doing, what we're not all doing, and I think that's what this whole Jade Helm thing was all about. They were creating this. Sorry, they were testing this software of this AI intelligence so that they could realise who needs targeting, what area needs targeting. They even said, didn't they, certain areas, you know, certain areas are friendly, certain areas are not friendly. That's what it was all about. This whole thing, that's what it's all about. It's about actually targeting everybody. Yeah, I know targeting individuals have already been targeted.
Targeted individuals have been the preemptive strike to the bigger mass strike that's coming, i.e. the Internet of Things, the 5G networks, and all of this other hive mind system, and all of this other nefarious stuff. It's all part of the. I mean, you know, Annie. I mean, this is all part of the building blocks of the main agenda. I mean, it's all connected.
Yeah, go on. It's all connected. Now there is a thing about as well. I think the whole Internet of Things, you know, with all this everything's interconnected, all things. I think all that might be a bit of bullshit going on there, you know, because
it's a lot of fearmongering out there, but there's a lot of. I mean, that's another key aspect of what these morons do. It's misdirection, misinformation, you know, I mean, they want you looking over there because they're doing stuff over here. I mean, it's just basics psyops, if you like.
Of course it is. Internet of Things, you're talking about everything being connected, right? So that means all appliances, you know, they're talking about everything's connected, cars, the whole works. Now, here's the thing, right? In reality, once they get this infrastructure in place with these smart cell towers, and I read this national infrastructure, I can't remember what it is now, I forgot. But anyway, I read a document online that they were claiming what they need to, and you know, to roll out the infrastructure for the 5G. And they basically were saying that there's 40,000 cell towers at the moment. But once they bring this in, they're talking about they're going to need maybe 500,000. So you're looking at these cell towers every 200 to 300 meters everywhere.
You're obviously aware of the old Elon Musk scenario. You know, not only the Neuralink, the brain to computer interface company that he's got, but also the 20,000, I think it's 20,000 satellites that he's sending up so he can get high-speed internet to every human being on the planet. Now, have you seen a film called The Kingsman?
Yes, I have, and I have.
Does that ring any bells?
Yeah, exactly, it does. But I'm also saying to myself that I can't. You know, as far as I'm concerned, this the millimeter waves is very short length waves. So I can't. I mean, you get loads of misinformation, disinformation put out there, and I think a lot of it is, you know,
it's deliberate,
right? Because I cannot see. Now, every time anyone posts anything, I've got a group on Facebook with Mass Action 5G campaign. We're doing things in the real world, not just on Facebook, yeah? But when people put links on there to anything, I don't just take it as read, because I think that's a problem that we're all, that's not helpful, is that people just think, oh, this is, you know, this has come from this must be true.
It comes out of the conditioning that everybody's given. You condition to believe. You condition when you from birth. You condition to believe your doctor. You condition to believe and have faith in your teachers and the police and everybody else. I mean, it's all done. It's a deliberate thing that's set up from when you first come out into this world. Yeah. I mean, you are born into a system of control from day one.
Yeah,
it's quite a. I just want to interject here because I've just been while you two have been going back and forth. I've just been having a little thought to myself. This Internet of Things thing, you know, it's one thing that they say. Oh, it's one thing that your fridge knows that you're out of milk, so it orders milk, and then the milk turns up. You know, like you used to order milk. You know, it used to turn up on your doorstep. Because you knew you needed it, but you know, we've got all this internet and everything's interconnected. And all I was thinking is, it leads also into medical realms, because it got me thinking. Now, I've got a prosthetic leg, and I'm looking at getting a prosthetic leg later, a better prosthetic, because this is my first one. But I'm looking at getting a better one later on this year. Now, on that, I will be able to adjust the knees resistance and for what I'm going to be doing, whether I'm going to be running or
you can, like, swing over 10-foot walls and stuff.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I could. Well, just I'll be able to adjust on me using my phone on an app, right? So let's just say we get the Internet of Things, and I go to my fridge and I get myself a beer, and then the thing they say, "Oh, hang on a minute, that's too many beers. You're not allowed that many beers," and then they turn my knee off.
Have you come across something called the Body Area Network? It's called the Body Area Network. It's like the newest medical technical thing where they put like dozens and dozens of implants in a human being, and they can sort of like tell you whether you've taken your pills in the morning and whether you've got something that's going to be wrong with you. And I mean, this technology. I mean, technology is a neutral thing. I mean, it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. Now, what's going on is they are mixing. I mean, they're utilising it for evil in some respect when it comes down to especially the targeted individual community, but they're also portraying it in a wonderful. Oh, this amazing new technology is going to be amazing. It's going to revolutionise medical health and blah blah blah. This, that, and the other. What people don't seem to be interested in is how the fuck did they come up and invent and perfect this technology? Where are the human experimentees that this stuff must have been tested on? Yeah. Where are they? I think they're out there, and we're called the targeted individual community. That's where we are. And this is what we've been talking and seen. We've seen this come in for a long time because we've been affected by it. And people, if you can take that how you want, I mean, but that's fact. I mean, I've seen thousands of TIs, women, children, and some of the stories and some of the horrific stuff that I've been told, and it's just, I mean, I really don't know where this is going to end up. I know it's going to end up in not a very nice place for a whole lot of people.
I think they very cleverly decided to use the health angle to promote the technology. For instance, in Liverpool, where I was born, claiming they basically claim that a system of multiple implantable electronic sensors which relay the electronic signals of the body, including the brain waves, to remote computers will enhance people's health in the future. Now, it's a two-way radio system which can send radio frequencies to an implant to ask it a question. If you want to go down that road, I mean, you can look up the whole microchip implant thing and all that sort of stuff. I mean, the first recorded implant in a human being was back in the late 1800s. Yeah. It was crude and it was a failure. But then you move on to someone called Dr. Jose Delgado, who was a scientist that was the first scientist to actually successfully put an electrode into an animal's head and remotely control it with a button. So there's a video on YouTube. He implanted this microchip into this bull's head in the bull ring. He then went out into the bull ring. The bull started charging him. He pushed the button, and the bull started spinning around in circles. Mm-hmm. I mean, this stuff's out there. All this information's out there. I mean, they don't hide it, which is what part of. I mean, I don't think, which is why they put all this stuff in all these films and stuff. I mean, they have to actually try and. I don't know whether they do it just out of cheekiness or whether they do it because they got to do it. It's like they almost tell you what they're going to be doing. Yeah. Through certain media and through certain. And the information's out there if you know what you're looking for. I mean, if you want to do something and you want a book to read, look up a book called by a scientist who actually worked to invent the mind control and the mind invasive technology called what's his name? Well, the book's called Project Soul Catcher. Dr. Robert Duncan, right?
he actually he helped invent this technology, the mind invasive technology. And he wrote a book. He became a whistleblower, and he wrote a book called Project Soul Catcher. Now, read that. You'll probably have a few nightmares, but that's been out about 4 or 5 years. And that just explains a lot of the stuff that we've been discussing tonight.
Right. What I was going to say was these implants can transmit continuously, or they can wake up when there's a question.
Yeah. That can be activated at a push of a button.
Exactly. This system uses like cell phones or transmitters embedded and all this sort of stuff. But they've got a person's electrical signals from their brain and their body being sent to a remote computer.
What they do is, a lot of people don't even understand that. I mean, every human being, every living thing actually has got its own unique electromagnetic frequency signature. The same as we've got fingerprints. Now, once they've got your digits, I mean, they can tune in and invade your person, your brain, your being,
exactly
like phoning a mobile phone.
Exactly. So the human brain and the body's been hijacked under the guise of the healthcare bloody system.
Yep. Well, they've been able to hack humans for a long time.
Yeah, I know, but now they're bringing it out mainstream. It's like, now, look how wonderful we are. We're using these techniques to help you health-wise, when really that's what they're doing. They're hacking people's brains.
Humans, they're looking to hack every human being on the planet. That's what they've actually now they have already got the capabilities to do that.
Of course they have.
It's very interesting stuff, and it's stuff that's been like you say. They have to, in some media or other, they have to tell us what's going on and what's going to happen, and before it happens.
Yeah,
and then
quite bizarre, isn't it? I've never really got my head around that, but it's like they're telling you, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and you ain't going to be able to do fuck all about it. So,
and it's almost as if there's some universal law of consent. Once we've consented, we've gone and watched that movie. It's made $1 billion. Then we're consenting to that. We know that that's going to happen. It's their way. It's just a really weird situation that you find yourself in as a human being.
Are you familiar with a really sad situation that happened last week? A guy called Isaac Cappy.
Yeah,
Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, yeah, I know. Wasn't he was killed, weren't he? He was.
Well, they said it was a suicide, but that's what they say about everyone that dies.
Tom Hanks. Wasn't Tom Hanks' name mentioned?
He was exposing paedophilia in Hollywood. But on his last video podcast, when he was talking about what we call and what is known to us as RNM, remote neuromonitoring, where he was literally in his last little podcast saying, you people haven't got a clue about surveillance. I mean, they are literally they are in your minds. They are reading everything that you see, everything that you do. I mean, and then a couple of days later, he apparently jumps off and commits suicide. Now, I mean, this is. I mean, they are on their way to the major rollout of something fucking horrific that people are not prepared for. But maybe that's the reason why it's been covered over and kept under wraps the way it has, because they don't want people to be aware that they're going to be hacked and their brains are going to be invaded, and they've got no privacy whatsoever, regardless of what they think.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're not going to do that, then that obviously negates the need for them to do it before. If they didn't need to do it now, then they didn't need to do it before. So they need to sort of get that out there, and that might have just been. And this is just a thought that's gone through my head, and it might be a projection. How we are saying that politics is just all a game and everything. Well, perhaps it's all a play, and there's actors and stuff. Then perhaps in the alternative media, the same applies. you know, so you've got the same people, and I'm going to expose all these things and do, you know, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then if something happens to me, then that's going to highlight what I've been saying all this time. But again, they're just playing this acting role over the other side. Can you not see that as maybe?
I completely agree with you, mate. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you, most certainly. I mean, we're talking about a bunch of slippery, slimy fuckers that have been doing and setting this up for many, many years. I mean, you're not gonna overcome it. You're not gonna be able to beat them. I mean, the only thing that you could possibly do is educate yourself and learn how to survive and live alongside it. That's what's coming.
Listen, we've got about.
I don't want to come across all sort of like, oh, it's doom and gloom and all that. I'm a realist. I mean,
you're not coming across doom and gloom. Trust me, you're not really. Honestly, I am as pleased as punch that you're on the show tonight. Raconteurs News. It's Jason Holmes and Annie Logical, and our guest tonight is Shane Gibbs, targeted individual. Now, first of all, we've got about 13 minutes left, and I just want to ask you about this, and I'm sure there were people that would want me to ask you this. And then I want you to give us the details on your you've got your march on the 29th. Is it 29th of August?
Well, yeah. I started an organisation. You talk about getting out of Facebook. You mean I set up an organisation and an association for targeted people. It's called Targeted UK. And our website www.targeteduk.com.
First of all, before we get into that,
you feel your boots.
The first one I was going to ask you was about Brian Harvey. What's he doing? Because I've not seen anything for a while.
Do you mind if I just butt in and just say something quickly? Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
You know, Shane just said we have to live alongside it, and I have to say I completely don't agree with that, because there is no living alongside it. That's the whole point. We're talking about the destruction of humanity.
The targeted community are living proof that you have to live alongside it.
No, I'm sorry, but no, we are talking about.
I completely appreciate your stance on it, but until you've been affected by this, until you've seen the results of what this can do and how it can affect humanity.
Can I just finish what I'm saying first? Okay. Unfortunately, people have been targeted individuals. They've been tested on for this technology for a hell of a long time. Okay, people have killed themselves because of the pressures of this technology. Right? Nobody is denying that fact. Okay, that's not a deniable fact. Now, what we are trying to say is that this technology has not been rolled out in its entirety yet, right? For us to say, okay, let's all just live alongside it, well, you might as well just kiss your fucking arse goodbye right now, because that is not going to happen, all right? Because what people have been targeted with is nothing compared to what they've got in store for us. Because once this technology takes hold and they've got the infrastructure in place, you're talking about something that will be beyond what targeted people can even imagine. Okay.
So what are you suggesting then? So what's the result that you mean? What do you think can be done about this?
Right. Okay. Well, I think that people need to be made aware of what is happening first and foremost. Right? It's no good saying, well, too bad you didn't listen to us then. We don't give a fuck now. You can all piss off and all that. We can't do that. We're talking about it's time now for people to take on board what needs to be done and talk to people about it. In their own communities, make people aware of it. Make sure that this infrastructure is not allowed to be built out. We don't care who we have to face to do that, whether it's, they're taking on the local councils are getting paid to agree to this infrastructure rollout. It's so, I can't stress it enough, to be honest. When I hear people say we have to just live alongside it, to me, it just, my heart just beats so fast. I'm thinking, no, that is not what we are. If you're going to say live alongside it, you might as well say that's the end of humanity. That's a plan in place.
That is the end of humanity, and that's the whole point. It is the end of humanity.
I'm not prepared to stand
Well,
by.
that's fine, and I applaud your courage and your tenacity in your approach. But I'm talking from first-hand experience.
No, you're not. You're not, though. You're talking about the experience of targeted individuals who've been tested on for a long time and suffered for a long time. You're not talking about the final outcome of what happens when they roll out this infrastructure for everybody and the techniques that they've got for everybody.
You know what the good thing? Do you know what the good thing that I see now is that there is people like you. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have, no one. This wouldn't have even been. This conversation wouldn't have even been taking place. 5-10 years ago, everybody would have been oblivious to what targeted individuals have been going through for decades.
But that's
it's only now that the rollout's coming that people are now starting to understand and starting to educate themselves, and they're starting to realise what is in store.
Listen, right. I have been I've been researching for years and years, okay, about everything that's been going on. I have been talking about everything. I've been active. I don't just talk to people.
Annie, listen, I think what Shane's saying is, right, that there are people like you that have been doing this sort of thing and digging into all this for the amount of years, 15 years, like you say. And now that is starting to reap rewards with other people waking up to the research that you've done. That's what I think that's all he's saying. I don't know.
I hope what I'm taking from it is that it's all too late and we should all just accept what's going to happen. Well, I, for one, would rather lay down and die than accept what's going to happen, because I'm not going to stand by and watch them roll out this stuff. While it's not rolled out, we still have a chance. Okay, this is our chance. This is our time for people to get out, talk to people, make people aware of what this technology really is. It's not all about mobile phones and connectivity and better freaking downloads of videos and all that shite. People need to realise the dangers that it poses, and we need to be making sure that we let all these people who are not aware know, and that's the only way that we're going to survive.
Exposure and public awareness is the only thing that is needed at this present time. Public awareness is key, not only for the TI community, but for the whole technical shit that's going to be coming on board.
Well, the whole of humanity. Let's put it that way. We're talking about the whole of humanity. If they've got a plan in place where they want to depopulate the planet and get the rest of us transhumanized, so we're no longer human, we're actually half human and half fucking robot. Okay. Well,
yeah, they're going to be turning people into part cyborgs. It's happening now. If you think about it, Jason, our host here, he's part cyborg already.
Oh, what a git, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm absolutely part cyborg. Here we go. Look. There we are.
And what I will say, just quickly, I was really disgusted with what that fucking bloke was saying about you and about your leg and that, Jay. Do you know what I mean? That was completely. It's just so. But this is what I'm trying to get over. Where are these people coming from?
We have to realise, right, that there's so many people involved in this whole truth movement, and some of them are there to piss people off. Some of them are there just to, have people talk about shit for hours on end. Some people are there to give misinformation, disinformation. Some people are there to lead and all that. We've got to get over that. Move.
Yeah, rise above it. Yeah, I know. But being a normal, caring human being, it does piss me off. Like seeing these. Some of the messages I was getting through some of the videos that I was doing recently about all these trolls. I'm getting people that are suicidal, saying, "Shane, what can you do? Can you help me do it?" And I'm like, "Well, there's nothing I can do."
Turn your fucking computer off. That's exactly, the best.
Exactly. And then what you do is you leave them in their little virtual prison.
Right.
Let them stay in a little virtual prison and then crack on with your fucking life. Simple as that.
We quickly talk about a subject that we haven't talked about yet. We've only got a few minutes left, and that is, well, first of all, I've got a friend here in Hastings, and she's a midwife, and her daughter ended up with Morgellons, and we know what Morgellons is, a pathogen. It's a nanobots, and it's something that they've created now. Her daughter killed herself. Right, she was in her 20s and she killed herself, and it's so sad, and it still upsets me to this day. So,
if you're living in Hastings, you do realise that there's a very large targeted community down in East Sussex, don't you?
Well, I think there's a large targeted. I personally think that there's targeted people all over the country, all over the world. They just don't realise it. They don't understand what the symptoms are. In fact, they don't accept that.
They put it down to coincidence and bad luck. Now, I mean, that's fine, but if you have coincidences in bad luck 50 times a day, every day of the fucking week, every day of the year, you know what I mean? You've got to start looking and thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on here? But you're right, people are being affected, but they're not putting the pieces together and realising that something nefarious is going on. But yeah, I completely agree with you.
That's because people are not giving them the. I mean, the thing is, knowledge is power. Yeah. Everything about people understanding what's going on. And if people go, oh, I'm not going to be bothered to tell you because you're a fucking idiot and all that sort of stuff, then no one's going to know. But it's so important that we start informing people, doing the research, informing people what's going on, so that we can, unless everybody realizes what we're facing, then we haven't got a chance. So we have to make everybody aware of what's going on. And that's what I think I'm doing, hopefully. And a lot of people who I know are trying to do that, and we will carry on doing that. And that's the way forward, is to make sure everybody's aware, and, put your egos at the door and all that.
It's like the old saying goes, Annie. I mean, you can lead that horse, but you can't make him take a drop. I mean, you can, and that's a fact. I mean, you can try and help people and try and expose it and give them the information they need, so that even just to raise their curiosity, so they can then go start, like you said, doing their own research, doing their own due diligence, and finding out for themselves.
Well, I'll have to say, on a personal level, I've been giving people information for years and years and years, and I know for a fact that I have woken up many, many, many people to what is going on, and they've told me that personally. So I know for a fact that it works, and I'm doing a good job.
I know it works. I know it works. But on another note, if you want to go tit for tat, I've probably got 30 emails on my BlackBerry from people thanking me because they found me just prior to them wanting to kill themselves.
Well, I don't know what you mean by going tit for tat. I'm trying to make a point that it's good to give people information. This is not about. We're not in competition here. We're just. It's not about,
it's far from a competition. I mean, this is about trying to save humanity. You know what I mean? And as drastic as that sounds, that's the reality of the situation that we're in.
This is about, right, okay, we've got two people who have got different views on certain things, and have got different amounts of passion. Sorry, the same amount of passion, but probably directed in different directions.
Well, I'm just talking from first-hand experience, from being on the receiving end of it. That's what I'm talking of. That's where I'm coming from.
Look, it's been a great. The thing is that we can have these discussions. That's the good thing. That's the point of all of this, is that we can have these discussions. We can talk to each other about this stuff, and nobody's going to fall out with each other over any nonsense of a silly crap. Because this is what we do. We talk to each other. Yeah. I talk to both sides. Like earlier on, you were saying to me about that I shouldn't. Not that I shouldn't, but you were disappointed that I spoke to Flow Destroyer, and Flow Destroyer will probably say to me he's disappointed that I spoke to you. But you see, this is where we are. It's on both sides, so everybody can have an argument.
It wasn't so much speaking. It was the way that he was allowed to remain anonymous. That's what
I didn't know about that. That didn't cross my mind. Didn't even cross my mind that it were remaining anonymous. It really didn't cross my mind. Listen, Shane, it's been fantastic this evening. It's certainly been enlightening. Just give me a minute, because I did ask this question and then Annie jumped in, so I didn't get this question answered. So
just quickly, I mean, there is no animosity between. I mean, I think that, like I've said in this interview, I mean, it's a pleasure being able to speak to someone like Annie, who has got the knowledge and has put herself out to try and assist and advise and expose what she's learned to as many people as she can. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, I mean, this sort of stuff needs to be, I mean, this needs to go on a bigger scale. I mean, we need 1,000 Annies, we need 1,000 Jasons. Do you know what I mean? That's the position that we're in. Do you know what I mean? Is it? Yeah, we're doing the right thing, but is it too little, too late? I don't know.
Am I still not going to get an answer on Brian Harvey? What's going on with him?
Oh,
Please
yeah,
tell
Brian.
me. He mentioned you in one of his shows, and I ain't seen any since. Because
the reason that I got involved with Brian in the first place is because what he was talking about and what he was exposing through some of his videos was the targeted individual program. So that's where the support came from for Brian, and it remains for Brian. You know, he's off doing his own thing, doing whatever. Hopefully, he's safe and he's sound and he's getting on as best he can. But the thing that I mean, it wasn't about the phone hacking. It wasn't about the Murdoch stuff and the Puddock stuff and all of this other shit that he was talking about. It was purely they was trying. Yeah, he had all that evidence and he had all that whatever he's got, but they was utilizing the targeted individual program to shut him up, to get him to commit suicide, to kill himself. So that is where my passion for Brian and his whole cause came in, is because I could recognise a fellow targeted person, because they was utilising the same things that they used for Brian as they used on me and as they used on thousands, tens and hundreds of thousands of other people around the world that are all saying the same thing. So we've all got this global delusion, so the psychiatrists say.
So I'll tell you what, if you get in touch with him, tell him to come on, because I would absolutely love to get him and Annie together chatting.
Well, I'm really hoping that we can try and get him dragging down to the protest outside the BBC in August.
And that would be my last question. Protest. Tell us about the protest. Just before we go.
Well, basically, what we've got, there is an international movement called, and they put a yearly event on called the International Targeted Individual Day. And they've been in other countries, they've been doing protests and rallies and weekend conferences, etc., etc., etc. The only country that hasn't really been getting involved is the UK. So Targeted UK and its members and anybody else is free to come and stand in solidarity with us outside the BBC. It's going to be the biggest gathering of targeted people in the UK that has ever happened. And it's going to take a lot of organising. There's a lot of people that are putting a lot of time and a lot of effort from their side of things. But we've got, I mean, I've had confirmations. I mean, there's non-targeted people come in. There's people there's family members of people that have been targeted and have died through their targeting that are coming. So the protest will be from 2 p.m. outside of BBC Broadcasting House in London. I think is it Port or something place. It'll be there from 2 o'clock. We'll be standing there with our banners and our posters and our flyers. And it's basically a protest stroke public awareness event that I'm hoping will be the first of not too many, because we want this to end. We want this to be somebody to start standing up, and in this country we need people to start acknowledging what we have been through and what people are going through. That's, I mean, it's all about doing the right thing. It's all like, so that's all about
29th of August outside the BBC Centre in London from 2 o'clock.
The 29th of August is a Thursday. From 2 o'clock onward, right. We will be there, and we'll probably be there till early evening. So
and you have some live streams and stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, it's all going to be filmed, and we've got photographers coming. I'm hoping I've got an investigative journalist that I know that I've done a little bit of work with a couple of years ago. I'm hoping that he will come and cover the event. I doubt very much whether we're going to get any mainstream media there. If we do, it might be the first in British history to be ridiculed and told that we're a bunch of fucking loony crankies in mainstream media. You never know. We can only live in hope. But any exposure, any negative or positive, is a good thing at this stage. It gets the topic
awesome,
out.
mate. Well,
it gets people talking about it.
It certainly does, and there's so many topics out there. It's easy for one particular topic to get swallowed up, and then they seem to get regurgitated out at different points.
Well, the reason that I named it Targeted UK, the association Targeted UK, is because there are so many forms of not just targeted individuals. You've got there's so many people that are suffering targeting for some reason or another. Do you know what I mean? There's some horrendous stuff going on in this country. So Targeted UK was a blanket name, if you like, for anyone that feels they have been targeted in any fashion to get involved, to get on board and start doing what needs to be done. And that's talking and exposing and passing the knowledge and the information out to people that are unaware of what's going on.
Well, there you go. It's Shane Gibbs. You can find him on Facebook. Annie, I'll give you the last word for you, Annie, before we have to say au revoir.
Well, just say thanks to Shane for everything that you're doing, throwing yourself out there and doing everything that you're doing. I really appreciate that. It's great to talk to you. I'm sure we'll come across each other again.
Yeah.
And and thanks, Jason. That's about it. Thanks for anyone who's listening as well.
Okay, well, thanks to you listening. Thanks to everyone in the chat room. And I gave 5 jobs out today. 5 jobs out today. I created 5 jobs as moderators in the chat room.
Well, that's
and
more
so
than
I hope
you're doing, mate.
Exactly. So I hope that helps everybody. So back tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Don't know what's going to be doing, but there'll be some anyway. Whether I know it's Wednesday tomorrow, love. I know. I said Tuesday and Wednesday. Are you trying to interrupt me? Okay.
Well,
as my producer.
That's it. I want to thank you, Annie, and I want to thank Jason for allowing me to come back on the show. And maybe I'll get back on at some stage in the near future. I can give you an update on what's going on.
Certainly will. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.